every time I go to judge another person, I stop and go, wait a minute, they're my mirror. What are they trying to show me? And then I see the capacity or incapacity of their ability to proactively operate and think. And so what you realize is most of us are just walking around lying to ourselves every day.
Welcome to And Then I Did This. Prepare to be inspired as we celebrate the unique journeys of individuals who've had the courage to break free and live life on their own terms. Their lives prove that you truly can be free to live your best and most authentic life. Let's get to it. Welcome to the show. I have a special guest today, Marc Longwith, who happens to be right now in Colombia.
I really appreciate for having me on the show. Thank you so much. I live in Medellin, Colombia, about 1,500 meters above sea level. It's 75 degrees and sunny every day, or 20 degrees Celsius, whichever one.
Wow. So good. So good. So what an interesting path you've had to get. You started in the US, right? Originally?
Definitely. I was born and raised in Las Vegas, and I was there for about 40 years before I traveled to San Diego for 2 years. I lived there, and then I started traveling the world for about 3-4 years.
Wow. So share a little bit about what you're doing and your journey getting to this point.
So right now, the main focus is something called Evolved Entrepreneur. I'm building a community of high-level entrepreneurs. We have an MBA player in there. We have book publishers. We have people that work for Lindt Chocolate and Colgate. So it's just this plethora. It's men and women. And it's really about a couple pieces. One is just the intersection of success and fulfillment, which I find to be an issue. So a lot of people have kind of hit that stride. Everything's on autopilot. And they're just not finding happiness because they haven't done the work to find that real success metric comes from within. And then also, I'm pretty, I would say, disciplined and regimented at times. So part of it is the capacity to just break through those glass ceilings or actually accomplish what you want to accomplish. High achievers do still struggle with procrastination or getting to that next level. And so a lot of the work we do is personal development based, because that's actually where the breakthrough comes. You know, people are like, well, I want to get to this next level. I'm like, it's not another SOP. It's not another YouTube script. It's you facing you. And so that's the goal of it. And then the byproduct is just better people. We build better people. We build great leaders. And the world becomes a bit of a better place because of that.
Yeah. So good. So good. It made me think of something I heard recently, which I had never really understood, why people who have everything in the world that you could imagine, more money than they could even spend, and it's not enough. And it's because they don't feel enough within themselves. So it doesn't matter the next house, the next trip, the next private jet, it will never be enough. So doing that inner work is where people get to that feeling of wholeness, which then minimalism can be a reality. And it doesn't matter. You could lose it all and you're still perfect, complete, and whole within yourself.
There's a great saying, and it says, do you own your things or do your things own you? Right. And I think that's the core of it all. I'm writing a book called The Dichotomy of Everything, and it's kind of that interplay between both. And the reality is there's nothing wrong with wanting all the things and having all the things. But if you can't be happy, Chris Williamson says this, and he's quoting somebody else, is if you can't be happy with a cup of coffee, you're not going to be happy on a yacht.
Right.
And so you really start to see that we're conditioned from a society to chase that metric.
Exactly.
And the reality is that metric isn't realistic because you won't get what you want. And I'll just share this with you. And this is kind of a dichotomy thing again, because I think it's great to have high achievers in the world, but they've proven that the majority of really high achievers, like 100 million plus, they're often compensating for trauma. Like you said, like they're not enough. And so I've worked with people that were worth up to 2 billion for people that had nothing, and all the way in between, from MLB players to NBA players to Michelin star chefs. There's only one single component about all of it, and it's self-worth. It all comes down to how much we love ourselves.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. It just made me think of the book I'm writing is You Are Enough, because most of us don't intrinsically feel that because of things that happen in those first years of life. And we're meaning-making machines, so we give meaning to everything. Well, that happened, so that must mean this. And then we carry that like a badge of honor, but we don't realize we're doing it. It's in our subconscious mind, and we just act it to every relationship, every job, every decision we make without realizing it until we do. And then once we do, we can fix it and work on it and turn it around, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do a workshop called Rewiring Your Brain for Success. And the component of it that's most important is that you're operating on a software program that's downloaded onto your hardware, which is your computer, that you didn't create. Imagine buying a computer and you're like, I don't know what's on that computer. And you're like, oh, go live your life with that.
Right.
And from ancestral trauma, DNA, your childhood, your upbringing, the components of your proximity, all of those things influence you. And then you wind up spitting out a person 25 years later who's operating on all these default settings without actually proactively thinking. And so they're reactive to everything that comes their way. So they're not actually making real decisions. They're just operating from the subconscious mind. And do you mind if I share a quick note on the subconscious mind?
Yeah, no, sure.
So I'll use an easy example is the reticular activation system takes in all these pieces and the brain's job is to compartmentalize and put to the side because it took in all the bits of information, you'd just be overwhelmed every day.
Right.
So if me and you did jujitsu, because I'm a jujitsu guy, your brain would be going crazy trying to learn like what's going on. And my brain map would be like chilling, right?
Right.
So because I know that thing. So the reality of it is your brain wants to take in information. It wants to learn it and then compartmentalize it into your subconscious. And it does that with about 98% of the information we receive. Wow. So now you got to think 98% of what I'm doing in daily life is no longer proactive, but a reactionary thing. Well, if I didn't program my subconscious mind, then it's just a reaction. And that's scary to me.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's making me think when you said that is like, if someone were to hand you, a laptop and just go ahead, run your business with this. You have no idea why you're doing, why it's doing what it's doing, why it's choosing what it's choosing. Yeah. And when I think people will realize when they start having that repetitive experience and doing the same thing over and over again, that it's a pattern. There's something else there. And a lot of times people don't know don't know what to do or how to look at it to see why am I doing that? Why is that happening? Yeah,
it's scary because I now realize that every time I go through anything that's challenging, like I recently had gone through a breakup like 6 months ago, or going through a death of a family member, I'm like, what is this trying to teach me? And then every time I go to judge another person, I stop and go, wait a minute, they're my mirror. So what are they trying to show me? And then I see the capacity or incapacity of their ability to proactively operate and think. And so what you realize is most of us are just walking around lying to ourselves every day.
Right.
Not consciously. And so they say hurt people and all of these things. And you realize like everybody's just doing the best they can with what they've got. And they don't actually they haven't sat down and had control. An easy example I always use is, why are you this religion? Catholic, whatever. I'm Catholic. Okay, why? Because my mother was Catholic. Okay, cool. Why is she Catholic? Well, her mother was Catholic. Well, why is she Catholic? So my point is, no one sat down and said, do I or do I not want to be this thing? And if you do it.
Right.
Please.
Right.
But did you ever think about it? And I think that's the thing is, the last piece is just awareness.
Yeah.
Right? Like just question yourself, question everything. Why am I doing this? Do I want to do this? Do I like that I do this way?
Right.
But we just repeat these patterns and they're just so automatic that we don't catch on to them.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and we both know Joe Dispenza in his book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, because we that are living in the past. Like we can go into each new day, but as we're getting ready in the morning, as we're whatever things we're doing during the day, we're like thinking about that thing that happened yesterday or some other trauma that
10 years ago
processing. Yes. And we're bringing it into the present. So we're not even living in the present moment. I mean, that's why I think that word, that be present, it's a gift if we look at it that way, but we have to realize what we're doing and not keep recirculating, rewiring and refiring those memories from the past, but have a vision of our future and be actively moving in that direction every day. Otherwise, we're the subconscious mind, 95% operating without thought. Our body knows 100%. How to do it better than our mind does. right?
Well, we just
So
struggle to. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you to share a little bit about your MMA background. I think that's so interesting. And how do you tie that in with, and how does that play into your life now?
I still train. I'll train boxing. I don't get hit in the head anymore because it's not healthy for me at this age. And I still train jiu-jitsu and wrestling and sometimes Muay Thai. But I started out boxing when I was 12 years old. And then I got into a reality-based martial art that I started when I was 14. And then by the time I was 24, I got my black belt and took over the school. And during that time, about 23, 24 right there, I got involved in jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and the sport fighting arena a few years earlier. And I was like, I want to really test myself. So I started fighting professional MMA. I only fought for 2 years. I'll be honest, I was also very distracted growing up in Vegas and working in the nightlife industry.
Right.
But the level of discipline, the grit, you just go on a mat every day and you just get beat up. And it doesn't matter how good you are. Because even if you're training for a fight, they're going to throw 10 guys in on you and you're going to eventually get tired. And so it taught me a level of discipline and grit to push through. And it's interesting, and this is for all the athletes out there, I really struggle to transfer that skill set into the business, because I could have 20 guys fight me for 2 hours and I could push through and grind. But if I had to push through 10 minutes of trying to figure out like the back end of Kajabi or something, I would throw my computers in the window. So I had to learn that skill is transferable. It's just a different type of muscle that you're working, and it's a different type of grit. But with my clients, I think it works in a way where twofold. One is I understand the importance of discipline and grit. And two is when I would train somebody for a fight, I wanted to make the training much more difficult than the actual fight itself. And so I realized that we all want to be gentle and kind to everybody we can, but when you're preparing somebody for life, you got to push them. And the more you push them, the more prepared they will be. So for me, it was like, I saw the work I was doing and it was good work. And I realized like, you need to actually push people beyond their comfort zone if you really want them to shine. And that's what people really hire coaches to do, is to push them beyond their comfort zone, give them the tools and mirror back to them. And that's it. That's really what we do.
Right. Absolutely. So what is it that you like best about what you're doing now?
I mean, it's very simple. I love to see people do things that they didn't think was possible, like that they never thought possible. And I'm just like, to watch somebody rise above whatever their limitations were and thrive. When I've watched them doubt themselves, be in fear, have low self-worth, it is a drug for me. Like it's honestly, I have a big heart and I like to give, but I can't deny it's not selfish too. Like it's so fulfilling to watch people. And as a coach, something I've learned too, is you have to be very mindful of potential, because I think we see the potential in everybody. So you do need to find clients that are willing to do the work, because you can only guide the way. And I've made mistakes like that in my whole life with relationships and friends, is seeing the potential rather than the reality. And it's a beautiful gift to have. But as we talked about, you look through some of my content, is you got to balance that empathy with boundaries. So just discovering that, like seeing someone how you want them to be versus how they really are. Or what they tell you they are.
Yes. Right.
Because everyone's going to tell you what they want. And they're going to everybody that goes into Navy SEAL, because I work with special operators, everyone that goes in Navy SEAL selection wants to be a Navy SEAL, probably a lot. Like they really want it, and only 40% of them make it. So even through that selection, I'm not saying that, but so my point is, like words are very interesting. They are beautiful, but the only thing that really matters is the action that's placed behind the word.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know many of the people that I think listen to this podcast are doing something they maybe don't feel enchanted with anymore, or maybe they woke up one day and was like, how did I get in this place doing this work? And they're working toward retired. I had an add the D to retired. Meant you're retired. You're tired by the time you get there. What advice would you give to people who are in that kind of a situation?
Who are about to retire?
No, who are doing something they don't feel passionate about anymore, but are too afraid to do something else, or maybe they don't even know what else they should be doing.
That's a big niche that I work with, which is the retirement niche. And I also work with, and when I say retirement, I'm talking about the transition niche, right? Because when athletes retire, they're in their 30s, right?
Right.
And the real key is for you to sit down and get real with yourself and realize that you're not going to ever be any younger or healthier than you are today.
Right.
That there is no better time than right now, that it will only get harder, and that your job is to sit down and get so connected with yourself that you have the capacity to really be aware enough to make a decision about the direction you want to go in. And I tell people, if you don't know what direction you want to go in, then you should be doing things that are going to at least align you with your heart and your head, right? And so we have something called the Evolved 100 Challenge, and it's like, it's meditation daily, it's mirror work, it's journaling, it's movement and exercise, and it's a little bit of dancing. And all of those things kind of bring you together. And if you do something like that for 30 to 100 days, you really start to find a flow in your life, and you kind of, all the noise starts to dissipate a little bit because you're on point, you're happy with yourself, you're focused, you're doing the things that are taking care of your body. And now we can start to make a decision that's more aligned. So it's a kind of roundabout way about your question. Right. But the reality is you're thinking from a place of, you might be dehydrated, deprived of proper food, not working out, grumpy with your job, your family, like all those things. And so you're trying to make a decision about with all this crazy external stimuli. I would tell people to get grounded.
Right.
Get grounded and then make a decision about your future from there. And I would say hire a coach, invest in somebody or a programmer, somebody that can help you make that transition. Because the truth is, what are you going to do for the next decade or the next 2 decades, the next 3 decades? You're going to keep doing the same thing that's sucking the life out of you. Right. And I can tell you this as well. If you're scared, you're going to be afraid. Accept that reality. It's not going to go away. You just have to have courage. I will say this, and Alex Hormozi says it, the hardest thing he's ever done, and he's built businesses at 250 million, I think his businesses, was when he decided to leave corporate and go to entrepreneurship. And I've done it. And that decision was so difficult. But once I made it, it's like I look back and go, why the hell did I ever not do this sooner?
Right. So, right. Yeah, absolutely. You can say that saying golden handcuffs are literally can become chains. And you have to realize that, just like you said, no one's getting any younger. No one's getting any more. We're every day that you don't take action toward the life that you could be living, you're just wasting. You're wasting time and wasting energy that could be applied to getting out of your comfort zone, which I, again, say, once you get out of your comfort zone, you realize it wasn't all that comfortable. Like a paycheck might mentally create this false illusion of security, but even that is crumbling as we look at what's happening around the world and with AI.
Big time.
Yeah, right?
Who knows what's going to be secure anymore? And I was thinking about golden handcuffs. And I was in Las Vegas. I was a sommelier. I was a food server. We're making $500 to $1,000 a night. We're working 30 hours a week. Take off whenever you want. You want to talk about, to most people hearing that's the dream life. Right. I mean, you're making $150,000 a year in cash money post taxes.
Right.
And you're just living the dream. And those golden handcuffs were so strong. And it was an identity too. I was the guy that all the celebrities came to and all the high-end people. And I'm the wine guy and I got the suit on and I know everybody. And I'm going to the villa afterwards, or I'm going to the nightclub. And you realize, but I was capped.
Right.
I was never going to make more than that. I was never going to not work in the evening if I wanted the family. Right. And I was never going to actually level up because people don't understand the level of substance abuse that goes along with those jobs, especially the alcohol all night. So, and being in that environment. And so that was a big shift for me too. Those golden handcuffs there, we all have them. Some people, it's the 401k and the salary and the 6 weeks paid vacation. And
absolutely. And as once people get beyond that, they realize what an illusion all of it is. Yeah.
It's all so simple and we think it's great. And it's really, we were meant for so much more.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about your, I would say, by country living. I mean, you're there in Colombia and you're also obviously a citizen of the U.S., I presume. And so what is your experience with that? Because I know there are a lot of people who are considering like leaving the U.S. and going someplace else. What's your experience been with that?
I will be honest and say this. I love my country. Mm-hmm. There's no place like the United States of America. It's pretty amazing. And also when you start to get out and you experience different cultures different people, you start to open your mind. And so I traveled the world for 3 years. I lived in Florence, and I lived in Rome, and I lived in Cambridge, and I lived in Lyon and Paris and Morocco and Costa Rica. And I chose Colombia because of the weather, right? Like it just started pouring right now. I mean, it's dumping, and it'll dump for 30 minutes and then the sun will come out and it's 75 degrees every day. And so weather is really important for me. The people are really kind. I love speaking Spanish, and I'm really close to the US. And your dollar is going to go about 3 times further here as well. Wow. That's something that's important to you. And so that has been the primary driving force. And we have to admit, the US is getting to a point where it's not anywhere near as affordable as it used to be. You can't do the things you could do. Absolutely. So if you want your money to stretch a little further, I could go live back in Del Mar and spend $5,000 on an apartment. And it was great. I loved it. But the trade-offs and the weather, I think it's amazing down here.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, it sounds magical. I've traveled a lot of places, but there not being one, but put it on the list.
You need to come, LuRae. You need to come down.
Put it on the list. Yeah, for sure. So what other words of wisdom? I mean, you've been an entrepreneur now like for a while. Words of wisdom, words of advice would you have for people in the space of entrepreneurialism? To people do make that step out, what do they need to be prepared for?
I would say 2 things. The one, you always have to bet on yourself. And that comes with a lot of self-confidence. Right. And confidence comes from action. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Expect a decade. Expect to put a decade of work in. Right. It's not going to be easy. But if you do the work, your success is guaranteed. It's not even a question. Right. If you have enough leverage and time, success is inevitable. And I think that's what I would tell people. But I would also tell them, like, it's a decade of sometimes getting your teeth kicked in. But it's so worth it. It's so worth it because it's yours. It's your way. And I would say also the future, I think they said in the next 5 years, you're going to have, I think it's something like 40% of people will be self-employed or at least working from home. And we're entering a new era where if you can't step up your game and figure out ways that you want to make money or be a contractor, people are just outsourcing everything everywhere. A regular employee is not normal anymore. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I when I think about that, and a couple of things came to me when you were talking is an overnight success is 10 to 20 years in the making. Yeah. And people see when the person has peaked or they've done enough that they're on the radar of society or their little circle or their big circle, whatever it is. And it's consistency. And I know, I think as you were talking too, I think the stepping stones out from where people are at, the easiest, at least I found, first step was to step out doing something that I like to do, that I was good at, and just let other people pay me for doing that. But I do it on my own time when I'm charged up to do it. I'm not with anyone looking over my shoulder, checking on me. I'm not asking to go take a day off or whatever. It's like having that freedom then allows people to be way more creative, I think, and to stay focused. Yeah. During times that they're naturally focused.
And I think if you're going to do all that, you might as well do something that is creative and that you're good at, right?
Right.
What's the point of doing all this if not? And I remember, just to rewind back to that, as I was at an event, I think it was a Brendan Burchard event. Lewis Howes was there. Rachel Hollis, the author, was there. And, I was in an interview and they're like, "Oh my God, how do you feel about your first book?" And she's like, "It's actually my 5th. And you're like, because you realize like this woman wrote 5 books to finally get somebody to pay attention. And so we all want to blow up, and everyone on the internet is selling overnight success stories, but it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes patience. And if you really love something, find your why in it so that you can stick long enough, and find a community. Like that's just like the community I have, like people that are going to hold you accountable. They're going to push you towards your goals. And because you cannot do it alone.
Right.
It takes time, it takes effort and energy, and you got to have a good community and a good why, or you won't succeed.
Right. And I think to the point of what you're doing, the best investment someone can make is investing in themselves. Don't buy stuff outside of you. Buy something that's going to give back. with someone like you who definitely has the street cred and the experience and has done it and is doing it to help people like break through, stay consistent. That's one of the hardest things people have. I think to what you were saying is if people are off by themselves trying to figure it out on their own, it's going to take way longer than having someone who's helped other people do it, has done it themselves, knows the path that could show you the way.
Absolutely. I mean, I always say we're paying for convenience, and people who value their time will pay the money all day long because they want to get the shortcuts. When we opened up I had a brew pub in Vegas. We called in a consultant. He spent 3 days brewing us with on the new equipment. That would have taken us months to figure out. And how many batches of beer would we have ruined?
Right.
3 days, it was, I don't know, a few $1,000, whatever it was. I think it was like $5,000. And he came in and so like we seek wisdom.
Right.
Seek wisdom from people that have done something you want to do or can hold you accountable to do what you want to do because they're inspirational and they have the accountability, because you literally can't do it alone. And then if you can surround yourself in a community of those people, they're going to challenge you to grow and be the best version of yourself.
Right. I love that so much. And how can people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you separately from this?
I'm on Instagram at Marc Anthony Longwith. There's a couple underscores in between her, and then Marc with a C, and then also evolvedentrepreneur.co is the website. And so either one of those places they can find me, and I do a workshop called Rewiring Your Brain every single month for success. And I'm on YouTube. We have a podcast, Evolved Entrepreneur Podcast.
And you're on Facebook too, because I saw you there.
I am on Facebook.
Yes,
I am on TikTok. I've definitely got a really strong LinkedIn presence now.
Yes. So. Awesome. So I'm going to link everything below in the show notes. Awesome. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing inspiration and wisdom for people who are out there, maybe not doing what they want to be doing and would like to do something different. And someone like you could help them do it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And I highly encourage everybody listening to really follow your dream of whatever that is and just stop listening to the noise. And there's no better time than right now.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Thank you, LuRae. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And that's a wrap on another episode of And Then I Did This, celebrating the lives of those who've walked away from the beaten path to pursue work and a life that nourishes their soul. If you're feeling inspired and ready to explore your own path to freedom, check out youcanbefree.life, where you'll find resources and support to help you break free and live life on your own terms. See you next time.